Hello everybody, Hellcrex here, and welcome to another Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode, 253 I think it is. Alright, today we're going to be talking about another tank, the Ontos Heavy Tank. It is a 95-ton little pig with a 3.5 movement, has an internal combustion engine, 24 heat sinks, and why does it have 24 heat sinks? Well, because it has a lot of other weapons. All right, it has 128 points of armor. So for something that is 95 tons, it doesn't have much armor at all. That's because it's all wrapped up in heat sinks. It has 8 medium lasers, 2 LRM-5s, and a ton of ammo. Yep. All right, so what you're looking at is 8 medium lasers times 3 is 24. Heck, that equals the number of heat sinks because it has internal combustion engine. Because vehicles must dissipate the entire allotment of heat they produce. They don't produce heat from missiles or autocannons. So, but they're carrying around energy weapons, so they have to have all the fun stuff that goes with it, you know, the dissipate the heat and be able to fire, you know, like energy systems. It's kind of like their convoluted way of saying it. Yes, since you don't have a fusion reactor to supply energy, it's kind of like, it's a food tax, kind of like energy tax coming for your energy weapons. So you have 24 heat sinks there. Now, this thing has basically it's a very slow sway back with a couple of LRM-5s attached to it, making more bang for your buck. You know, it's like you don't have a lot. Really, to be honest, there's not a lot of long-range firepower with this 95-ton pig. So yeah, I like the concept of the Ontos, but I typically like some of the other variants that, hey, you have a fusion reactor that kind of dissipates some of that problem of having to create an energy creation system. So, but when you get this thing in close, like in, say, a city fight, where it kind of excels at is that you come slowly crawling around the corner, and then you hit somebody with 8 medium lasers. It's almost like a demolisher, and to be honest, I think you're better off with a demolisher over a Ontos because damage output is pretty much the same. It's just that you have a tendency to do slightly more damage with the Ontos up close than you do with the demolisher, because the demolisher gets its 2 shots. Ontos is going to get its 8 medium lasers plus the 2 LRM-5s, at least try to hit some targets. So it's kind of one, I always like to call the AC-20 a gambling weapon system, because you got so much tonnage wrapped up into something that, you know, you may not hit. In our last game that we played, we went one turn, I think there was 5, 6 AC-20s fired, and not one of them hit. Not a single one. And we're talking about needing 5s and 6s. Still missed. So, yeah, there is that. Now, one thing you could always say about this tank, now if they dropped it down to, say, 4 medium lasers, and then take that 12, 16 tons and throwing it into, say, more armor and upgrade to a couple LRM-10s, yeah, that might be something to play with. I think there's a variant for that. So speaking of variants, let's just look at the Sarna here. All right, we got one version which removes all the LRM, or yeah, not LRMs. It adds LRMs. Medium lasers, so you have 8 tons. That's what 32 tons of space that they're playing with, and gives it a pair of LRM-20 racks and a pair of LRM-10 racks. So almost an improved longbow in some ways when it comes to long-range fire support. I can get behind that one. It's like it's almost a kind of an improved LRM carrier in some ways, but not quite the same. So in an open field, slow pig, it may get run down and destroyed quickly. But at least with some firepower like that, you do have capability of doing some damage out to range. Now, if you have this in a conjunction of, let's say, one of these in a Lance of Vontos, where three of them are the standard, and this one has, you know, your LRM version, at least you got some long-range fire support. Now, here's one I always liked. This is the Star League version. This one has a fusion reactor in it. So it has an armament that has 10 medium lasers, 2 LRM 10s, 2 tons of ammo, and armor extra. So by taking adding a fusion reactor, that you're gaining 10 tons pretty much for space. So you can upgrade a little bit when it comes to armament, and your LRMs are kind of upgraded. Now, personally, I think they could have easily gone with, let's say, 4 LRM5s instead of 2 LRM10s. I'd be more inclined to do that, because then you're saving a couple more tons, which you can throw into armor, you know, which might be enough to keep you alive for a little bit longer. Because I can tell you, let's say a demolisher tank facing off against 2-3 mechs typically doesn't last very long. So you might want to have a little bit more armor. Then we got the 3053 version. This is similar to the 2863 version, so almost 200 years later, it back to having a fusion reactor. It has 4 medium lasers and 3 medium pulse lasers, and twin LRM5s with Artemis, which is kind of a waste. Why would you put Artemis on an LRM5? Oh, it's replaced by a single LRM15. Sorry. Sorry. With an Artemis. Yeah, that's okay. That's fine. It's like the other thing is putting Artemis on SRMs, which it does. It has an SRM4 and an SRM6. Personally, just give me a pair of SRM4s. Keep the down so you don't have to have so much difference in ammo. Because you got to have a ton of ammo for this rack, you got to have a ton of ammo for that rack, because they're, you know, supposedly not compatible, air quotes. And then you're throwing Artemis on there. It's just like, no, don't want that. I never like to have Artemis on my SRMs. It's just like, oh no. I can see putting it on, let's say, a LRM15 or a 20, but no. Okay, so then you have K system, which is kind of redundant with ferrofibrous armor. Fine, yeah, but then you're kicking out around 1250 battle value with this vehicle. That's the same as a mech. Does have some good firepower, so in a city fight, kind of works. But you know, being it's a slow moving pig, it'll get run down eventually by faster moving mech. I think that I like the idea of going back to having, let's say, 8 medium lasers on that version, and I can get behind the LRM15, but 2 different kinds of SRMs. Personally, I'd rather take those SRMs and convert them into, let's say, another LRM. Go that route. And so save yourself some tonnage also with that Artemis. That's kind of the thought process I have. All right. Then we get the light Gauss version, the 3058. Removes all the weapons and mounts 3 light Gauss rifles, 4 tons of ammunition, and 2 ER medium lasers. So, yeah, it's like if you got the fusion reactor on board, you don't have to worry about heat sinks for that, because you're using the 10 comes with the fusion reactor for the ER medium lasers. And then your 3 light Gauss rifles, yeah, you can reach out and touch somebody with those. Do a little bit of damage. You're still trying to be a long-range fire support tank, but yeah, I think you could work out that a little easier, a little better in some different ways. Then there's the MML version. This one is modified of the same version we just talked about, but it's the light Gauss rifles are replaced with 2 MML-7 launchers and ammunition protected by case. Same battle value. Yeah, it's like there's something to be said about MMLs being kind of useful for extreme range, long range, and short range, but I just feel like the firepower in this thing has just been seriously degraded from the original version. And then we have the sealed version. This one has 2 ER medium lasers, 4 medium lasers in the turret, and obviously you're going to have some heat sinks to go with it, as are supported by 2 MML-7s with environmental sealing, so it can take part in amphibious assault. So basically turn it into a turtle that goes underwater. Okay. So if you're on an aqua world, so Aquaman version, yeah, there you go. That's it. And then we got the heat version. Okay, so it's also known as the Hostile Environment Assault Tank. Uses combat vehicle escape pod to protect the crew in the event of catastrophic failure. It provides protection in hostile environments, so it's like also is like taking the sealed version, but also using some other different equipment. It has a Sunbeam ER large laser and an LRM-15 and mounts 3 medium lasers. So you're still wrapping a lot up into heat sinks for something like that. To be honest, I think you're probably better off just getting rid of the ER large laser and replace it with another LRM-15. Just be honest. And then run the Hassel has ferrofibrous armor. So yeah, it's like, and take maybe have 4 medium lasers instead also. Yeah, that's kind of like my thought process when it goes to that. So that's pretty much it when it comes to the Ontos. It's one of those tanks that has capabilities that can be used, but I kind of think that just taking the original version and give it a fusion engine and it upgrade your missiles to something better. It's just an easier, simple way of looking at it, instead of having to worry about what kind of weapon systems and trying to how many heat sinks you're going to add to that thing. So that's pretty much it when it comes to the Ontos. In a city fight, you might be better off with a Demolisher. And the fire support one with the LRMs might be useful in an open area, or possibly in a city fight if you got some forward observers or something like that. But overall, there's probably better choices when it comes to the Ontos. It's probably why you haven't ever seen it very often in any games. Because, to be honest with you, if I had a choice between this and a Demolisher, I usually take the Demolisher. So, there you go. That is the Ontos. We'll talk to y'all later. Hellcracks out.